Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our webinar, Understanding the PPP in the EIDL component of the program. A couple of quick rules of the game. Please post your questions in the Q&A section only. We will not be able to take questions from the chat. After my prepared slides, the moderator will do your best to get through the Q&A. We will be providing a recording of this webinar and slides that will be posted shortly after on our community site at realtime.indy.com. Later in the day, we will also email a copy to the participants. A little bit about myself. I am the founder and CEO of MultiFunding. I am an Inc. columnist writing on business lending issues. I'm regularly featured in the press, and I've advised prior administrations on the business credit markets. I have a book out called The Growth Dilemma, and I'm an EO board member of EO Philadelphia. Yet you're not here to learn about me, you're here to learn about the program and updates about what's going on. Some disclaimers that we have to share. We are in an unprecedented time in history, and the information to us is available to us is changing daily. Please refer to our most current presentation for education. Information we provided as early as yesterday could be outdated. The information provided is based upon our best judgment about what we know at this time and a decade of experience with SBA lending. However, key questions remain about how to implement this program. MultiFunding LLC does not accept any liability as it relates to the timeliness or content of the information we are sharing today or may share in the future, and we are under no legal duty to update any such information or recommendations. We want to be clear that while we are happy to provide you with education pertaining to these new government programs, we are not acting as agents, packages, or brokers, and will not be able to help you get a loan placed with a specific lender or prepare or assemble applications or documents for use in applications. We encourage you to check in with your attorney, CPAs, and financial advisors for additional insights. Now let's begin. There are a lot of questions out there about the status of the EIDL loans and grants. This is what we know. Grants are being made no longer for $10,000, but for up to $10,000, and that is $1,000 per employee. It seems like the government, and these come from the government, not directly from a lender or working through the applicant pool. And some applicants, in addition to their grant, are getting offers for a $15,000 working capital loan at 3.75%. That is different to the grant. The best out of our knowledge, this is the maximum that the EIDLs are going up to right now. But let's talk about the program in general, because the EIDLs are only a small fraction of it. The vast majority of the money, $349 billion, has been allocated to the Paycheck Protection Program, and an additional $250 billion is hopefully will get through Washington in the next few days. That is where the majority of money is being allocated by the government. So let's dig right into the PPP gold rush. And as is a gold rush, because everyone is trying to get their share of the money, this presents opportunity, chaos, and danger. 3 important steps are apply, and many people have already done that or attempted to do that at hopefully their local lender or credit union. Then at some point, you get approved by the SBA. And as of last night, the SBA has already approved $110 billion of these applications. And then your lender needs to fund you. That process is starting to trickle through. As folks, getting PPP is a maze. There are many routes to get that approval and then get the funding. And different lenders are interpreting the rules differently because the rules are vague. In addition, there are dozens of places starting up on the internet requesting applications that it is not clear to us have any path to actually process your applications. So we caution you to be extremely careful. Who is eligible to participate? Small businesses with 500 or fewer employees, including nonprofits with 501c3 status, are eligible to participate. Small self-employed individuals, sole proprietorships, and independent contractors are also eligible. In a few instances, businesses with more than 500 employees are eligible in certain industries. Household employers are ineligible. These loans have you can get for 2.5 times your monthly payroll. The interest rate is 1% fixed. All payments will be deferred for 6 months. However, interest will continue to accrue over this period. The loan is due in 2 years. There are no prepayment penalties or fees, and no collateral is required. There's no personal guarantee requirement. However, if the government finds that you use the loan for fraudulent purposes, they can and will likely pursue criminal charges against you. Credit elsewhere rules are not applicable, so it doesn't matter how much credit you have available elsewhere to be qualified for one of these. All loans will have the same terms regardless of lender or borrower, and there are no lender fees, and agents cannot charge fees to borrowers. What you need to apply. Please be clear that different lenders have different requirements. You need a completed application, and here's a link, and it's the most current one, and those links will be continuously updated, provided to you at the end with these slides. In addition to your application, you must provide documentation to validate your necessary payroll expenses to validate what you're asking for. Payroll costs include salaries, wages, and commissions or tips capped at $100,000 on an annualized basis for each employee. So if somebody earns, as an example, $300,000, you can only apply for 2.5 months of a total of $100,000 for them. Employee benefits include costs for vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave, and health insurance premiums. State and local taxes are assessed on compensation. For a sole proprietor or an independent contractor, these wages, commissions, income, or net earnings from self-employment capped at $100,000 on an annualized basis for each employee. $100,000 cap is for base salary. You can cut that down to $100,000 and add on top of it healthcare costs, retirement costs, state and local taxes assessed on compensation. How do you determine your average payroll? For most applicants, you simply take your total payroll for last year, put in the $100,000 cap, and multiply by 2.5. There are different scenarios for seasonal businesses or brand new businesses, and different ways to calculate, and this will be provided in the slides. How do you determine your number of employees? Borrowers may use the average employment over the same time period to determine the number of employees for the purposes of applying an employee-based size standard. Pretty much, you're going to take the time period and take the average number of employees and use that as your threshold. Are federal taxes eligible in your payroll calculation? The amount that you pay on behalf of your employee or the company costs are eligible. The amount that you withhold on behalf of your employee are not eligible. This is an important point, and we want to reiterate. Employers cannot include their 1099s or contractors in their payroll calculations. The 1099s or contractors will be able to submit their own PPP applications starting hopefully tomorrow. Where and when to apply? SBA.gov lists eligible banks. Be careful, eligible and participating do not mean the same thing. The program is available now for small businesses and sole proprietorships, and starting on April 10th, tomorrow, in theory, it will be open for independent contractors and self-employed individuals. Just be careful, and I'll reiterate the point of the maze. Just because the government has a system up, this does not mean that your bank is perfectly ready to process these loans. Each bank who is participating is at different stages of setting up their own internal processes and system. Alas, the maze. A warning, there are plenty of people out there, many fintechs or very popular sites taking applications, and as of right now, it is not clear that they have anywhere to process them. So be very wary of where you share your personal information. You really should only share it right now with a participating regulated entity. Keep in mind that banks are taking care of their own customers first, and that applied and funded are two very different things. Just because you applied, you're still stuck in the maze, and that doesn't mean that you're close to being funded. In the application, one of the questions is who are considered owners, because there are different stipulations for owners. All parties listed below are considered owners. For sole proprietorship, it is the sole proprietor. For a partnership, all general partners and all limited partners owning 20% or more of the equity of the firm. For a corporation, all owners of 20% or more of the corporation. For a limited liability company, all members owning 20% or more of the company and any trustor are considered owners. What would disqualify you for anyone considered to be an owner? If anyone is currently disbarred, involved in a bankruptcy, or the company is involved in a bankruptcy, the whole company will be eligible. If any of the owners or the applicant is currently delinquent on an SBA loan or has defaulted in the last 7 years, causing the federal government a loss, you are ineligible to participate in the PPP. You have to advise for any owners if they own any other businesses or have common management with any other businesses, and you have to provide this information. All owners must advise if the business has received an EIDL loan, if the United States is the principal place of residence for all employees, and if the applicant is a franchise that is listed in the SBA's franchise directory. For any owners of 20% or more, this will disqualify you. If anyone is currently indicted on probation or parole or incarcerated, the company is disqualified. And within the last 5 years, for any felony, has any of the owners pleaded guilty or placed on any form of parole or probation, the company is disqualified. If owners are non-US citizens or foreign companies, you're okay. What is important is where your employees are, not who owns your entity. Each of the owners will have to represent and authorize that all SBA loan proceeds will be used only for the business-related purposes as specified in the loan application. To the extent feasible, that you will purchase only American-made equipment and products, and that the applicant is not engaged in any activity that is illegal under federal, state, or local law. You will have to certify, for anyone owning 20% or more, that current economic uncertainty makes the loan necessary. The funds will be used to retain workers and maintain payroll or make mortgage payments, lease payments, and utility payments. That you will provide documentation at a later time to verify all your expenses, and that you understand that loan forgiveness will be provided for the sum of these amounts. To repeat, the allowable use of proceeds for these loans are payroll costs, including benefits, and interest on mortgage, rent into lease agreements, or utilities. You will owe money when your loan is due if you use the loan amount for anything other than payroll costs, mortgage interest, rent, and utilities, and no more than 25% of the amount will be forgiven for non-payroll costs. You will owe money if you did not maintain your staff and payroll. Your loan forgiveness will be reduced if you decrease your full-time employee headcount, and your loan forgiveness will also be reduced if you decrease salaries and wages by more than 25% for any employee that made less than $100,000 annualized in 2019. Let's be clear, the forgiveness laws are not clear, and we await further SBA guidance. It is likely that there will not be clear guidance on exactly what will and won't be forgiven until after you get your money. You will request forgiveness by submitting a request to your lender, including all your documentation, certifying that it is all correct, and the lender will then have 60 days to decide on your decision. This is a nuance for companies with more than who have affiliates and combined ownership with more than 500 employees. All business concerns with more than 500 employees that are assigned are essentially in the hospitality and food industry. Affiliate rules are waived for. All business concerns operating as a franchise, affiliate rules are waived for, and new franchises such as 7-Eleven, Chick-fil-A are being added temporarily to the franchise directory. Any business concern that receives financial assistance or has received it from an SBIC, the affiliate rules are waived, and the relationships of faith-based organizations, say to your diocese or your synagogue affiliation group, are waived. The affiliate rules: any affiliate of an individual, concern, or entity that owns or has the power to control more than 50% of this concern's voting equity is considered an affiliate. If no individual, concern, or entity is found to control, the board of directors or president or chief executives will be considered to be in control of the concern. And if a minority shareholder has certain rights, they will be considered to be in control of the concern. There are a bunch of details about the affiliate rules that I don't want to go into today, but if your company has more than 500 employees across ownership, we can discuss in private. Faith-based organizations are eligible to receive SBA loans, regardless of whether they provide secular social services. Churches, including temples, mosques, synagogues, and other houses of worship, are eligible to receive as long as they have 501c3 status. Organizations will not sacrifice their autonomy, First Amendment, or statutory rights if they participate in the program. That's for the PPP. We discussed earlier the EIDL grants and loans, currently up to $10,000 grants, with currently the $15,000 offers being made. You can apply, and we will provide you the link where you can apply. There are similar eligibility requirements as the PPP. At present, it appears that the only loan offers being made are up to $15,000 in addition to the up to $10,000 grant. The action really is with the PPPs. You do not have to be in business for 1 year before the disaster. While there's initial part is a grant, the loans are not forgiven. There are no credit elsewhere requirements. And the $10,000 grant they say the law says it must be made within 3 days. That's not happening, but you must use them for authorized uses. In addition, the CARES Act, for anyone who currently gets an regular SBA loan before September 27th, 2020, you will have 6 months of interest and principal forgiven. What is happening now? As of 8 p.m. last night, the SBA has processed 430,000 applications for $110 billion. We expect that by now that number is higher. Money is slowly starting to flow through to borrowers. Banks and participating lenders are working on their closing processes. Currently, the EIDL application on SBA.gov only takes you as far as the $10,000 grant application, and we caution everybody to beware of scams. PPP loans can only be taken or by participating authorized banks or credit unions. They're the only ones that right now can contact the SBA and do the loans. Fintechs are, as of right now, not authorized to do that. As of right now, EIDL loans are only available at SBA.gov. Don't apply anywhere else. Debt relief programs for existing 7A borrowers should be automatic. Check with your existing lender. Forgiveness applications, while they are not out yet, must be made directly with whomever processes your PPP. And agents are forbidden to charge fees to a borrower to help you take applications or find you a lender. Do not pay any fees. Agents can be paid by banks, but we expect this to be very uncommon. Our best advice is stay close to your trusted banker. And if your bank is not going to participate, look for a community bank or credit union in your area who will likely be willing to process the PPP for you, but will want your checking account. In addition to the SBA PPP EIDL programs, many states and some localities have resources. We've assembled a list of these resources on our community site at realtime.inc.com. Go check it out, and if you see or know of some programs that aren't listed there, we ask that you help us update them. We have created some follow-up resources for the community. As mentioned earlier, we have, in conjunction with Inc., in collaboration with them, an online community with Q&A app that will be found at realtime.inc.com, and we will be posting these slides and a copy of the webinar there shortly after this presentation. These webinars with updates continue every day at noon Eastern Time. We encourage you to sign up and check out what's new. SBA disaster loans can be found at the link provided, and MultiFunding is offering some premium services and private education opportunities at the link provided below. Now, folks, we have some time for questions, and I'm going to ask the moderator to open up. Thanks.
Do you have to bring back 100% of your workforce under the PPP?
The intent of the law is to bring back 100% of your workforce, even if they're sitting at home and not doing anything. The intent of the law is to keep your team intact and keep folks off of the unemployment lines and let them enjoy their full salary and their full benefits. So if you do not do that, you will be dinged. I can't tell you exactly by how much you will be dinged, but you will be dinged.
Is delayed funding of PPP loans currently up to interpretation by lenders? All I can find is the window for loans ends June 30th, but no specific guidance or clarity on allowable timelines for funding.
The only thing that comes out in the new guidance is that the lender has, once they've been approved by the SBA, the lender has 10 days to get you the money. We don't know if that will be enforced or not, but there's no guidance as to how long it can take them or they're required to take to process your application. And the only guidance right now says that they have to get you your money once you're approved by the SBA within 10 days.
As of last night, the EIDL app is still asking churches or nonprofits to certify that they are providing secular social service. Should churches check that box since the SBA issued FAQs that don't have to provide these services, or how do you recommend?
I'm going to ask you to post that question in the community so I can think about it. I'm not sure how to answer that exactly. I'm sorry.
I'm a single member LLC and all of my Schedule C revenue comes through 1099s. Do you apply as a small business or an independent contractor?
I think it's subject to interpretation and you need to ask your bank what they want you to do. I don't think there's a clear ruling about that one way or the other.
This is a seasonal question. I have not had any employees on payroll of 2020 yet. Will I still be eligible for the PPP because I hire mostly for the summer?
You can, but keep in mind that you'll only be eligible for the PPP for the 8 weeks from the time you get your funds. So say you get your funds today and you don't hire anyone for 60 days and you didn't have anyone on your payroll for the 60-day time period historically, you're not going to get any benefits. Maybe you'll get your rent or your utility payments, but that will be it.
If your rent obligations include the payment of taxes, the net lease, can you include those in the 25% of the PPP that's forgiven?
I think that will come out in guidance about what is and cannot be forgiven later. So I'm not sure how to answer that. I don't think there's a clear answer out there. I'm sorry.
As a landlord of multiple units, residential renters, where do you recommend we turn for disaster relief support?
Unfortunately, the PPP program and the EID is not really work in favor of a applicant like that. I'm sorry.
Who is approving the loans, the bank or SBA? If it's the SBA, how is it that the banks have different requirements?
Ultimately, the banks approve the loan through their system, make sure it meets their requirements. They have certain standards they have to meet, and then they submit the application for approval to the SBA. That process is fairly simple. However, the process beforehand. I apologize for all the noise. We've done such a good job, but an exterminator just arrived at our house and the dogs are going crazy. Please forgive me for the background noise.
We are a VC funded company. As such, majority owners are all non-US entities, but our employees affected are in the US citizens. Can we get PPP?
Well, there's two answers to that. If that your owners are non-US citizens does not impact it. but depending on the ownership shares of those owners, and you have to determine if there's an affiliation concern, and that is really more of a private consultation we could not take you through in this call.
The initial guidance said you could not include FICA expenses. Has this officially changed?
I believe it has.
Judy wants you to confirm if the federal employer payroll taxes for Social Security and Medicare are allowed.
I believe that's the case. Again, put it in, and then if your bank is issued, discuss it with them, but I would put it in.
Does the 20% ownership rule apply to the EIDL as well? If there are no 20% owners, who do we indicate as the owner?
I'm sorry, folks. I don't know how to answer that. I've not spent very much time digging into the EIDL application. Most of our energy has been on the PPP. So I would read the EIDL application carefully, and I will try to do that also. So I have some more answers about that tomorrow.
If a company keeps employees on payroll instead of laying them off and uses the existing line of credit to do so, would they be able to retroactively get forgiveness, or the forgiveness provisions start running from the date of the loan disbursement?
The forgiveness provision starts from the date of the loan disbursement.
If you currently have people on furlough, do you have to bring them back full-time in order to get forgiveness, or is the credit based on total payroll cost regardless of on furlough or not?
So my belief is you have to bring them back and take them off of furlough, but that will be subject to the final forgiveness rules, which again, unfortunately, are not really clear right now.
Can guaranteed payments made to a partner be included on payroll?
This part is vague and unclear about what happens to partner distributions or to owner distributions. Our understanding is they are likely eligible up to $100,000 as long as they are actually period. Now, partner could mean different things. I assume you're meaning an equity partner, but again, that's going to be subject to final guidance as to whether or not those parts are forgivable.
Is there a minimum credit score required?
PPPs have no credit check on them. EIDLs apparently do, but we don't know what it is. Folks, I'm sorry, I'm just going to repeat the follow-up resources, and then we're going to be able to take 2 more questions, and then unfortunately we have to run. Here is a link to our community online Q&A site at realtime.inc.com, where we will be posting this webinar and the presentation. Daily webinars with updates, if you want to stay abreast of what's happening, will be available free. If you want to apply for an EIDL, that is the link to do so. Do not apply for an EIDL anywhere besides at the SBA.gov. And if you're interested in our premium services, there is a link to it. Hannah, we can take 2 more questions, and then unfortunately I have to run.
Perfect. Is workers' comp cost included in payroll costs for the application?
We believe it is.
I read the EIDL SBA loans are now $1,000 per employee up to $10K. Are these full-time only or full and part-time employees?
It's not clear.
Okay.
Sorry. I wish I had more. For all those who've asked questions that we don't know how to answer, I wish I had clearer answers, but I'm only going to tell you what I know. Thank you so much, folks. I know it's tough out there. Be well and be safe, and my prayers to you and your families. Take care.
Thanks.